안녕하십니까. 오늘의 대담의 사회를 맡은 부산국제건축제 기획위원장이자 그런지 팩토리 대표 여창호 인사드리겠습니다. 그럼 오늘 진행 일정을 안내해 드리겠습니다. 첫 번째로 MVRDB 공동대표인 위니마스의 What's Next in 부산의 발제를 시작으로 부산의 젊은 건축가들의 어떤 그 비전을 함께하면서 부산 건축도시 혁신 방안에 대해서 대담이 이어질 예정입니다. 대담이 끝나고 난 후에는 청중의 질의응답 및 의견 수렴의 시간을 가지도록 하겠습니다. 그럼 지금부터 이제 발제를 시작하도록 하겠습니다. MVRDB 위니마스 대표님께서 What's Next 부산을 주제로 발표해 주시겠습니다. 다시 한번 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다.
Just some words on MVRDV, our collaborators. What we do, which is not only a building, but also a lot in research and in scripting, for instance, to give an example. And how we collaborate with the Y Factory in Delft and to think about the future. That's what we're today about, making models for the future, controlling it through our software and viewing it to sites, like now in Busan. That leads then to books and publications. The aim is with Busan Next also to do one book in the coming year, so to have all your ideas involved. Second chapter, thinking about urbanism. Most of you work as architects, think about buildings short term. Urbanism is about time. Time, it helps us. Because if I look back in 30 years, then we did a lot in the world. So you always think, I cannot do much, but that's not true. Let's look back to this last 30 years. 30 years ago, there was no internet. 30 years ago, there was no smartphone. There was no e-bike. There was no new China, to be honest. There was no African. There was no sustainable design. There was no Me Too movement. There was no Russian crisis. There was no Trump in those days. There was no MVRDV. There was no vegan food. There was no bike lanes in Paris. There were no wooden towers, no solar panels, no cyclic thinking, no climate problem, no high-speed trains. There were no nitrate crisis. There was no nature protection. There was no suburbanization. There was no urban cultures. What did we do? A lot in those 30 years, no? So that means that if we think about urbanism, in 30 years, Busan could change a lot, or any place can think a lot. What is then the wish list for the coming time to do? And there I point at a wider perspective that we have. So what are urgencies is a question next. So we consume too much in the world, for instance. We are with very many. We are also very unequal. These are subjects that we can pass. Next. But so there is actually a lot in the world, urgencies that we could describe. This list advocates that, and I will show that in my next book, The Green Dip, to show what are all the things that we lack. So that means that we have an agenda. If I ask your mayor, don't you want to be responsible? He says, I want to be responsible. So don't you want to be open? Yes, I want. Don't you want to be curious? No one is against that. Don't you want to be green? Almost no one is against that. So there is actually a list of things that could be on the agenda for any city already in the world to make us into a direction. And yes, architecture is in, because no one is against loveliness. Who is against beauty? And no one is against wonders to do that. So yes, there's more that we share than you think. So the question is, how do we do that today? And then and that's why we're here. I advocate for more research, for more collaborations. We cannot do it on our own. For more experimentations. Allow ourselves to make mistakes is also part of our game. And I know that that's a hard thing in your culture to do that, but I think that is what we need to do. And we need also more leadership and then more actions on short term. is what I would like to advocate. Fourth chapter. Let me take you to countries. Because we can design houses, but can we design a country? Can you design Korea in a way? That would be great to do. I give you some examples on that. In my book 10 years ago, I already described how we think about countries. We all are the center of the universe. We all are of the portal of an hinterland. So we work a lot on our slogans. A couple of examples in it. First, the Netherlands as a plan. This is the Netherlands. It's highly artificial. This is what we did in the past. We made projects. We made polders, no seas. We made new dunes to protect ourselves. We made roads insanely. We made changes in our agriculture and that transformed. So we designed our country over the years. And if you look to the Netherlands and how big it is in its density is one of the top. If you see it as a city, it is bigger than a lot of cities, this 20 million people. But it's not dense as a city. It's very suburban. On the other hand, this is the plan that we developed for the Netherlands now, this time. I give you some examples. This is an existing part. We transform all our rivers now to make it into one water zone, keep the water as long as possible. We make new dikes and new dunes just offshore to create this kind of buffer between the North Sea and the country. We enlarge amount of windmills. We do the whole sea, cover it with windmills at the moment, is what this plan is about. We have this infrastructure, but we concentrate that soon in, there we go again, next, in this kind of zones, so that not everything is covered. Next one. These are the corridors that we are designing. We have forests, but they're not enough. This is what we need to compensate our action. So we need substantial forestification. We use Belgium and this is then basically the plan or pieces of the plan of the Netherlands. You can design it, is what I wanted to say. I take you to Switzerland. This is the plan of Switzerland, which is a little bit smaller than South Korea, but still it's a plan. What do? First, we transform, say, the distribution centers of Switzerland only in one place. The stupid boxes that you have everywhere in every city, just do it in one place. We make no tunnels in the next time in Switzerland. We make bridges. High streets. Why high streets? Because then you avoid the costs. You can have beautiful views over the Alps, and you can have, no effect on below. There is a change in the landscape in Switzerland. We make more lakes to keep the water longer in Switzerland before it goes down to the Netherlands or to Italy, and concentrate the building. So here a plan for Zurich, the capital, to use the lake as much as possible to surround it. Looks almost like Busan, no? In the future. So that's what we are doing. We clad the south sides of the mountains with solar panels, so that you have more solar energy in it. And it's happening at the moment. These are images that the avalanche instruments become actually the instruments of the solar panels. So I immediately suggest that these things are happening. We move our ski resorts up to 4,000 meters, because lower it doesn't matter. And that means already here, the first, say, hotels are appearing on the Matterhorn to Matterstad, to next to it. So you can act, is what it says, and how it produced. And that makes this map of Switzerland. Cities now. I will take you to Paris for a moment. Because if you think about the city, Paris is 12 million people. So, okay, that's substantial. What we made for the city of Paris was a calculator. How good is Paris in its action? So here you see something. What does it say? How many of Paris people use public transport versus other cities? Paris love cars. They hate, and I didn't expect that. Because it's not only the center, it's the whole country that does that. But if you compare it to Hong Kong, it's like terrible what is there. So there is, here you see also in the private transport, they're the top 3 of the world in cars, which I didn't expect at all. So that says something about that city. If you make a map of all the things, how good are you compared to other cities, then you get this score. And then you compare it with the other cities, like that, then you have an agenda to make something better. So what can we do then in the case of Paris? Here the overlay, these are action plans of the scores to improve it. If you, as an architect, how many cubic meter is that to repair it? I need more forests. How many cubic meter is that? I need more repair of the roads, other kind of roads, so many. This is the whole cube that we would like to give to Paris. This was my present to the president to say, okay, this is my cadeau, mon cadeau pour vous. And then you spread it. And you use every project to show how good it is. So here you see one. Because this is the new law in Paris that every roof needs to be covered with solar panels. Also in Haussmann, which is a kind of beautiful proposal at the moment, that if you do it like this, then in a way, this will come like this. Now happening. Took 10 years to get that done. I go further. There is all the trains in Paris stop. They have what they call a terminus. They go not further. Stupid, of course. Because I want to go from Rotterdam, not to Paris, but to Bordeaux. So I have to continue. I have to change a train. It takes me an hour to do that. And it's very elitist, I call it. It's elitish. Well, you know it, how Paris can be, is in that way. So here the proposal to connect them. So this study is taken after our suggestion 10 years ago, is one step further to make this new tunnel under Paris. From Gare du Nord, it goes now to this direction, so that now you can cross it in this sense. And that means that we have a new central station on the Gare, under the Place de la République, under the Republican Square. Wonderful, the best name we can imagine, and that transforms that into this kind of new pit into Paris. And that means also that all the rails that are north of the stations can become neighborhoods and transform it into this new density. So you can see in action, compare it, and you get then this kind of plan. I can go further, because there is this ring road that is there. And we are working on a kind of new metro map to use the ring road also for, instead of this, into a new metro, that turns it then into a zone on top of the road, which become a park and with new density surrounded. So with this, I hope to show you that these comparisons can lead to actions and to design. I take you to Almere. You have never heard about Almere. Almere is next to Amsterdam on the right side. And it's a city that's designed in the 80s. And it has now 150,000 people, grows to 300,000 people soon because of the plan. So we are asked to be the supervisor of that operation. This is Almere. You have hundreds, thousands of these kind of houses. And it's made in a very, actually nice way. Houses in the green, neighborhoods in the green. It's a garden city of garden cities. About 7 garden cities are already made. So what can I do then when I have to double that city? I don't want to kill that. The houses are too young. People are just bought it. So I have to not touch it. So what we do, we make a new metro line in between all those neighborhoods, and we make 4 new garden cities. Every new garden city does something with nature. This is the line with the 4 cities that come across. This is the first one that we are making a city in the lake, that loves the lake. And I explain that later. How the next city, a new dense garden city next to Amsterdam. The next stop, we make a lake, or the lake is there, and we make a city around it. And then we end in a landscape where you see that you stop in a city where agriculture is part of that city part. So 4 times and ways to make new garden cities is what we think. So what I try to say, that every city has a specialism. So what I would, and Almere is that. Now I give you examples, because this is 8 years ago that we designed it, 10 years ago. And now we make Oosterwold look like this. It could look like Russia. But now we transform it into this. How do we do that? We say that you can build what you want, but you cannot harm your neighbor. You have to do and participate in agriculture. You have to help a farmer with that. And you have to solve everything. That's happening now. These are all the plots that people buy and make and design themselves. And that's how they make it then on the landscape. They do it together. They start to make agriculture and houses. They make the water facilities by themselves and all the energy. And they produce wine, apples, and sell it in their new markets that they are making. They make collectively that city. Next city, Hortus. I think this is interesting because we used here also an expo to make a new city. You like that also to do. So this is that city, that part next to the lake. You see that the lake left is the existing city, and there we have to make this new city, part of the city center. Here we won the competition for the Garden Expo of the Netherlands, and which happened last year to do that. What's the plan? If you have, this is the situation, this is our plan. Many small streets are we going to make, and many plans, and I will show that more later. And then we drape it over this area. And why is it square? Because it's a library of plans that we are going to make. So this is the plan, with all the mini streets, the mini plots, and everyone, sorry, this goes next. This is my client, one could say. If I come closer, these are all the plans in the Netherlands. What we try to do in Solu, we turn it in the same way, make it now in Almere as the library of plans. These are all the collections, and how we place them, from A till Z. So alphabetically, they go like this, and if you zoom in that calculation, here you see how the software calculates the sizes of all these plots. How then these are the species that go over the site, and that we then also use in the buildings, in the facades, same types. So you can get, well, here the landscape goes up, over it, and further. So it's part of the library that comes then together in this area. And how does it look like? This could it look like. How can then a boulevard look like? The nice thing is, architecture doesn't matter. I mean, any style, no, landscape is what is here, what wins, is what we wanted to say. So here, the younger picture of me, where I try to explain it to the mayor and how we were dreaming about it. I will show you how the public space was now done with all the different streets, how we planted the species in it, how we added the bridges of the same wood that we could find, all recycled in it, even on the sizes, and how we then start with the first buildings in it, covering with the plans. The central building was this, but it becomes the library. It's a housing, social housing. So you can see how all the species are on the facade, and how you can find now all the species in the surrounding. In your balcony, you discover which plant you are. The expo came, and here all the pavilions of all the countries were participating and showing how they could collaborate with the wood, or with the type of wood that was in that site. And it is as if I was showing a mirror to the society. This is a critique in the newspapers to see what that could be. And what's the next step? When you fly now to Amsterdam, then you see this below coming up, and that this is going to happen the coming years. Another 6,000 units come in with this kind of detailing, that love landscape is what is going to be. So you can do a good expo, but then you have to be so bold and so direct, and so that it becomes inspiring for any committee to judge yes to that. Next city. I'm still in Almere. Can you go further? There, stop. Now I go to Island, the island city. Because what can I do? If I look to the lake, it's white. Other lakes are blue. That means this lake is not good water. It's like coffee. And it's because of the... Why? We made a mistake in the Netherlands. We put no stream through it. It's very shallow, there's chalk in it, and the wind brings it up, and it becomes completely white. So what do? We have to stop that. So we block it now, and that effect is that this chalk, which is now like this, calms down. But then we filter it in swamps. We use from that underwater dike to put it there, and we make that also along the coasts of this lake. We stop water coming in from the sewage systems, from any city all around it. And then we make a new metro line that stops there, just in the middle. So, and there we make a new city, 20,000 people, which cannot reach, only reach by boat or by this tunnel, is what it's going to be. So here it will start, and then when this is the situation, we make this damper. Just a swamp, just reed everywhere with houses inside, so that that helps to filter this water and turn it into pristine, beautiful water. You don't believe me, of course. When it's going to build, we made a test. So here you can see a picture. When you fly again to Amsterdam, you see below first, say, 5 islands that are used to test how that would work, how the water is going. So I'm super happy. Does it cost something? Yes, this costed 50 million euros, more or less, this test. But for 20,000, and how many water do I serve? So you can calculate that bigger budgets are sometimes also good to do. And then I end, of course, with a city. I made 4 new garden cities. But people in the city are inspired now. And now they say, I want in my current situation also change it and to make it more green. That was exactly the effect that we would like to do. So what helps now? That people of this society want to have this connection with our environment. That these people wanted to have a better facade, except for one person who didn't like that. So that would add more birds. That this becomes the model of the new hospital. So it's a hospital which is also green and uses that in its environment. That this becomes the new station of the city. So the new garden city can also be with 1,000 ideas. And that is, I think, the most important tool of Almere to get it, say, democratized or to get everybody involved. I go to Marseille. Why Marseille? Because I think for the architecture festival of your city, it's nice to be inspired maybe what the next step could be and to show you what we did there in the case of an art show. Marseille is on the south of France, on the Mediterranean. And Manifesta is the name of the expo, the biennial, every 2 years. So once it was given to us to make the design of that expo. So here you see images from that expo time that came out and the book that we made to position artists. Every artist should have a meaningful, say, position, is what it wants to say. So how do you do that? And so we analyzed the city. This is how the city, this is a central station. There's a lot of poor people that live there, that paint their city. There's a lot of art. There's many kind of, say, non-French people are living there. They try to do that in this way with Jean Nouvel to do that. But actually, it's a very puzzling city. The grand puzzle, the big puzzle, is what we face. So we try to explore that. And we talked with many people, thinkers that are there. And what do you think? What is Marseille? That's what everybody can do also. And if you do that, then you get these quotes. The large discrepancy between poor and rich, says Michel Peraldi, a sociologist. So if you ask him to draw the city, can you draw the next one? Then you get also this one who loves the fact that there is so much nature. Next. So we made maps, basically that. Next. So, and in the maps, we compared Marseille with other cities. So you can see that Marseille is the closest to the sea of all the other port cities in Europe. It is the greenest of all port cities because of the areas that you can see there. Oh, can you go back? It is actually very healthy because it has the most amount of tracks of walking. If you do that for Busan on all the mountains, you become much more healthier. And there are not enough, when I have to say. So if you look then to dirtiness, actually Marseille is one of the dirtiest places in why? Because they have a lot of, say, cement industry that goes through the air and kills you at that moment. So they also love cars, and more than other places. They have an enormous amount of traffic jams. They have the highest inequality level in Europe. The difference between rich and poor is so big that you get fights on that place. And that leads to many homeless people. Then that leads to unsafetiness in the city. That leads to, say, poor housing conditions. And there is a lot of fear in the highest amount of gated communities after Johannesburg is Marseille. So this is shocking to see that all this. So comparing means that you can do something about it. I will speed up, Kyo, for a moment. So what do we do then next? So the first thing is what we invited many students. And we made a huge map of Marseille and asked them to make your model on it, to put your model on it, what you want to do in the city. And I will present them how that is then leading to this kind of ideas of Marseille. On any spot, we can put an artist to work, is what it says. And then we can sort them who contributes to greenness. And you have these projects that make the city greener all over this place. I'll give you some examples. Like this model, make the street greener. It's now like this, and it becomes that. Or this one, where he wants to cool the city. It's too hot in the summer. So if you have this cathedral, and we make these nozzles around it, then you have a beautiful cloud that mystifies, in that way, also the religion. If I want to get rid of the elite of the port, then we can transform this port maybe better into a beach, what this student was saying. If we want a dike outside of the sea, which is not used because it's a breaker against the wind, like you have here also, then you maybe could use it again with sand and make there a new Copacabana. If you have these quarries that cause, or these ports, basins, and you can transform it again into a self-built housing area, we would love it to do that. And the port authorities are helping me on this now to do it. If you want this port, this piece, like here, pieces of the port could transform into fantastic pools, if you imagine that by one dike to get it on. And for the quarries that cause all these things, the dust, we can also inhabit them with plants so that they stop. Accessibility is another theme in these projects to make it better. Here you can see them, how the effect is. One accessibility is here. Make your politicians more open. By this, say, town hall that becomes then more accessible. By making bridges towards the dams in the sea. That is this project, this is built, but then this is the continuation of that museum into the next areas. By extending the pathways into the city and hike from the city to the environment, by biking into the cities and transform a zero auto route into something which is better. Or to imagine that certain streets could be much more pedestrianized, say instead of this, you turn it into that. It's to stop the dead ends in the street, in the city, because people, the rich people living in the end. That is so horrible that you cannot, how can I escape if someone is hijacking me? So if you open them at that moment, that would be a beautiful way of addressing that. To make more metro stops in the poor area is what this project also shows. Here we need more metro stops, is what it says. To make also a connection to Africa, because you are close, and I think it's a very important project. This is the view to Africa from Marseille. Imagine we make a bridge there to connect it. And of course, it's a long thing. It crosses through Mallorca, but then you have, I think, a beautiful dream that you could do. And of course, in inclusivity, there are a series of projects. Here they are. Here, the mount, this is now only Catholic. So make here also the other religions on this mount, so that somehow we live together, is what it wants to If this is a slab social housing, which looks like this at the moment, very dangerous for shooting, and try to open it, make it more, say, friendly, add balconies wherever possible, is what this project to do. And of course, the soccer club, Olympique Marseille, maybe you know them, they were partly very good. But it would be so beautiful that this stadium would have, say, neighbors, so that you can look into the stadium, have a beer or a wine, and say hello to the supporters, is what this student was thinking. And of course, make housing that welcome also in the future African neighbors is a project which is so important for Europe, according to me, to add that. So, why not making them also, can you do? Next. This would be a wonderful, say, housing operation, better than Samsung. Next. Or make more social housing, but then in such a way that they are cheap, but do something in green. Next. So from this, you add more hills in the city to do that. And then, of course, the last project we did was basically this. This is Netflix series, Marseille. Maybe you've seen it. They made this big sign like Hollywood on it. Actually, it's fantastic. So I used it now to make this screen. Marseille is. And you could put in what you want. So that means that Marseille could be funny, could be nice or nice, etc., or silent, or where, or etc. This is what the communication device we could do. And then last, of course, we want to share that with other people. So everybody could deal with ideas to put that also in this exhibition. They make drawings like this, dreams like that, how Marseille could look like. And if I then this mosaic is beautiful. And then you have mini projects that help the bigger picture, is what it wants to do. So suddenly, for the architects here, yes, you can contribute. But we want to make it stronger and visible. That's what Marseille is about. Okay, I end very quickly with Tirana. That is in Albania. And that is, if you look to this map and I zoom in, it's one of the poorest countries in the world. So what happens? That was because this dictator was living there for 50 years. He smiled. The children smiled back. He met, of course, the communist leaders in the world on different moments. And he made social housing. He made a university, but he had to defend himself with bunkers. He made prisons, especially women were maltreated enormously in this site. Up till he was almost his age, he was there. And he made himself this tomb, this mausoleum, to be there, where he glorified himself. And then he died. And suddenly, people became angry and got rid of his statues at that moment to say, okay, we don't want this anymore. And new leaders came who were much more democratic. What is then Tirana, on the main capital that is there? What can you do at that moment in this capital that has this kind of communist time? It is now working first with Edi Rama to paint what is there, to make it more nice, to paint it with different colors, to clean up the mess that was left behind with different, say, water treatments. And then as the next step, we were asked to work with him. So our first building was also a painting showing all the houses that are there. Our second building was the pyramid that you might have shown, this mausoleum that is over there, that came this, and then it was like the symbol of overcoming that time. And now it is back given to the people. You can walk on top freely at the moment, at any position, and inside, and you can be together and look to the school which is now inside. And that you can visit because it's open and outside. Every classroom is part of it and is also positioned on top and next to it. It is squatted, one could say, in the best sense. And that gives maybe, I think, a new identity, an overcoming. It's not glorifying the past, it's using the past to make something new. And what is then next to do it? This is what we make now, surrounding the pyramid, the urban plan, first by French architects who made this order, but actually this is now what's happening. We cultivate densification, and every time other architect makes something. So here you see that happening. And on time, 2015, we made Albi, which is on that spot, which shows basically the map of Albania. Every house is part of that map, and you can take the beer and give it to the neighbor to the side. So what is next in that way? You see it now under construction. You can go there. The balconies are touching each other, and you can see each other when you come out in a way. But you're a part of the map of Albania. So that's what it wants to show with Christmas. What is then next? Here you see how around the central square that has been redesigned, now the different sculptures are appearing. Every building is beautiful somehow. Every architect does a contribution. That's how we should do it also in Busan, that anything you make is fantastic. And every time you ask the question, what's next? So that is what then now is happening with Skender also. In this case, you can go into, on this plot, which reminds the hero of the country, the one that made the independence. It stretches the building, it fits it to the side, and in such a way that it becomes actually some kind of memory of him overlooking the. And I know this is intriguing. Is this good or bad? Is this nationalist or not? But it's under construction and is part of, say, the collection of say, these towers that are there. And what is next? We do the halo. What is that? That is then you react on your neighbor. And so here on the backside of Skender, we developed this tower that is like the shadow figure that is visible from outside. So you give this as a background. Can you do the next one? And that becomes, say, suddenly this component that makes this plaza towards this side. So that is under construction currently also. And then what's next? The needle, I think, is very beautiful in the collection because it is wanting to show the whole city in its surrounding by a print on this building so that you can always have this overview. With that, I hope to give you some kind of inspiration that urbanism is cool and that everything is urbanism with it. And with that, I do hope that we can think about the Busan with this workshop that comes soon, with you, with all others, to turn it into a Busan Next. Thank you very much for your attention.
위니마스 대표님께 다시 한번 이제 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. 저희 시간 관계상 이제 저희가 바로 위니마스와 젊은 건축가 대담회를 시작하도록 하겠습니다. 아까 소개드린 대로 저는 여기 진행을 맡은 부산국제건축제 기획위원장 여창호라고 합니다. 우선 지금 참여하신 여러분들께서 지금 젊은 건축가 분들도 많으신 것 같고 이런 부분들이 되게 궁금하신 부분들이 되게 많을 거라고 생각을 하고요. 저 같은 경우에는 네덜란드에 한 5년 정도 살았었고 학교를 다니고 실무를 하는 과정에서 느꼈던 점이 많았었습니다. 그래서 어떻게 보면 그 네덜란드의 로테르담이라는 곳이 가지고 있는 저는 유사성이라고 해야 되나요? 저희 고향인 부산과의 어떤 유사성 그런 것들에 대해서 지내면서 되게 놀랬던 점이 있었고 그런 어떤 로테르담이라는 도시에 대한 이야기부터 먼저 출발을 하려고 합니다. 그래서 로테르담 같은 경우에는 아마 모르신 분도 많으시고 아시는 분도 많으시겠지만 부산과 상당히 밀접한 관계가 있는 도시라고 저는 생각을 합니다. 왜냐하면은 로테르담은 네덜란드에서 두 번째 도시라고 보실 수가 있고요. 그리고 그 컨테이너 물동량이 상당한 그 항만 도시라고 보시면 되겠습니다. 그리고 항구 도시가 우리나라 부산의 북항처럼 이제 산업 그 지구가 이제 도심에서 빠져나가고 그 빠져나간 도시를 새로운 어떤 생활 경관으로 만들어 나가는 작업들을 꾸준히 20년, 30년 전부터 진행을 하고 있고요. 그런 것들이 부산이 지금 닥친 여러 가지 상황들이 한 20년, 30년 전부터 계속 진행이 됐던 도시라고 보시면 되겠습니다. 그리고 동시에 제가 놀랬던 점은 로테르담도 전쟁이라는 어떤 아픈 기억을 통해서 새로 도약한 도시라고 보시면 되겠고요. 그 로테르담이 아시겠지만 유럽 도시 같은 경우에는 뭔가 개발이라든지 새로운 것들을 하기가 되게 힘듭니다. 왜냐하면 기존에 지어져 있던 상당한 도시적인 어떤 여러 가지 건축적인 자산들이 상당하기 때문에 그런데 로테르담 같은 경우에는 어떤 전쟁의 그 독일의 융단 폭격을 맞아서 도시 전체가 이제 전소되는 그런 상황이 생겨서 어떤 아픈 역사를 가지고 있습니다. 그러다 보니까 오히려 그런 것들을 딛고 일어서는 계기가 오히려 그런 재건의 과정에서 근대 건축의 태동이 만들어졌습니다. 그런 것들이 어떻게 보면 부산이 가지고 있는 아니면 한국이 가지고 있는 어떤 전쟁의 아픔, 부산이 어쩔 수 없이 짊어질 수밖에 없었던 그 피란의 그런 그 수도의 그런 여러 가지 역사적인 흔적이 부산의 아이덴티티로 정확하게 남아 있는 이런 부분들이 상당히 유사성이 있었고요. 그래서 이런 부분들이 상당히 제가 네덜란드에 있으면서 되게 유사성으로 다가왔었습니다. 그래서 로테르담과 부산에 상당한 비슷한 점이 있고 이런 부분에 있어서 저는 되게 반가운 점은 이제 오늘 좋은 자리를 만들어 주신 MBRDB의 그 위니마스 대표님 같은 경우에는 그 로테르담에서 30년 정도 MBRDB라는 회사를 이끌어 오셨습니다. 그래서 저희 같은 경우에는 틀림없이 이제 위니마스 같은 경우에도 젊은 건축가 시절이 있었을 거고 이런 부분들의 환경이 당시에는 어떤 상황이었으며 저는 예전에 지금의 부산이 여러 가지 젊은 건축가분들을 보게 되면은 어떤 그 인사이트를 가질 수 있을까를 되게 궁금해했던 점이 있어서 위니마스가 이 시점에 오신 거에 대해서 되게 반갑게 생각을 하고 있고요. 그래서 아까 말씀드린 대로 로테르담이라는 도시가 수도가 아님에도 불구하고 OMA라든지 MBRDB라든지 에릭 반 에게라트라든지 케이캅이라든지 여러 가지 세계 유수의 건축 설계 회사들이 집적되어 있습니다. 저는 그런 것들이 되게 흥미로웠고 되게 궁금했었습니다. 이런 부분들이 어떻게 하면 이런 그 제2의 도시, 항구 도시가 새로운 어떤 산업을 만들어 나가는 데 있어서 이런 질적인 산업이죠. 그 3차, 4차 산업에 대한 어떤 이런 산업을 받아들이는 방법에 건축 디자인이라든지 설계 디자인, 도시 디자인이 그 한가운데 있다는 것이 되게 고무적이었고 이런 부분에 대해서 먼저 저희는 주제로 이야기를 나눠보려고 합니다. 그래서 어떻게 보면 도시 건축 산업을 육성하는 부분이라든지 아니면 어떤 젊은 건축가들이 커가는 큰 어떤 중요한 환경이 될 수 있는 부분에 대해서 일단 첫 번째 주제로 저희는 얘기를 나눠보려고 하고요. 그 부분에 있어서 유가건축의 유대호 대표님 먼저 말씀을 부탁드리겠습니다.
네, 안녕하십니까. 예, 유가건축사의 유대호 건축사라고 합니다. 이렇게 먼저 시작하게 돼서 많은 부담을 갖고 시작하는데요. 일단 지금 보시면은 젊은 학생분들이 많은 학생 건축가분들이 많이 오셨습니다. 위니마스께서는 학생분들이 많이 동경하는 그런 아키텍이십니다. 하지만 저는 좀 다르다고 생각합니다. 저는 위니마스를 목표로 하는 건축가라고 생각합니다. 그리고 위니마스가 주는 그 영향력을 통해서 앞으로 한 10년 뒤쯤 저희는 세계적인 건축가가 되어서 전 세계적으로 부산 또는 그 세계 각 여러 도시들을 아우르는 위니마스의 다음 건축가가 되도록 노력하도록 하겠습니다. 예. 예, 제가 소재로 하고 있는 것은 과연 우리는 어떤 도시를 원하고 있는가 하고 우리는 어떤 도시가 되어야 되는가에 대한 먼저 고민을 하였습니다. 한국은 서울공화국이라는 말이 많이 돌고 있습니다. 과연 이런 말들이 왜 상용화처럼 되고 있을까 고민을 해봅니다. 우리의 부모 세대 또는 지금 우리의 자녀 세대는 서울을 보내기 위해 부모들은 안간힘을 쓰고 사교육비를 모으고 있습니다. 과연 그런 노동의 대가는 무엇을 위한 걸까 고민을 해봤습니다. 저도 자녀를 키우는 입장에서 과연 우리 자녀들을 서울로 보내는 게 가장 긍정적인 효과일까 고민을 해봤습니다. 과연 서울에는 무엇이 있길래 우리는 서울로 보내려고 할까? 일단은 많은 일자리가 있습니다. 예, 많은 일자리가 있고 많은 문화들이 있습니다. 과연 우리가 삶을 살아가면서 그런 문화적인 부분, 일자리에 대한 부분 이런 것이 삶의 목표가 될 것이라고 나는 생각하고 있습니다. 하지만 부산을 외에 많은 도시의 사람들이 서울로 올라가게 됐습니다. 그러면은 과연 서울에 있는 사람은 과연 어디로 갈 것인가? 또 다른 해외 유수한 유럽의 나라로 보낼 것입니다. 과연 우리는 이 자녀들을 멀리까지 계속 보낼 것인가? 저는 여기에 집중해야 된다고 생각합니다. 서울의 많은 도시들을 따라가는 것이 아니라 유럽의 유수한 도시들을 뛰어넘는 부산은 그런 요소가 있다고 저는 생각을 합니다. 예, 그래서 우리의 삶의 목적은 좀 달라야 된다고 생각합니다. 예, 부산의 배경은 앞서 말씀해 주셨다시피 일제강점기에 강제적인 개항으로 시작했습니다. 그리고 한국 전쟁 때는 많은 피난민들이 부산에 모이게 되었습니다. 강제적이든 어떻게든 부산은 많은 사람들로 도시로 모이게 되었습니다. 이런 것은 확장과 수용 그리고 포용의 도시라는 이미지를 갖고 있습니다. 과연 우리의 이런 포용의 도시라는 의미는 어떤 의미를 가지고 있을까 생각을 했습니다. 부산을 생각하면 저는 그렇게 생각합니다. 일단은 저는 부산에서 태어났고 앞으로도 계속 살아가는 사람입니다. 부산은 유쾌한 도시며 활기찬 도시며 또 서정적인 도시입니다. 과연 이런 감정은 어디에서 오는 걸까 저는 곰곰이 고민을 해봤습니다. 이러한 영향은 우리 지역의 유수한 산과 바다 이런 자연적인 특성에서 온다고 생각합니다. 그런 것은 부정할 수 없는 우리의 유전자라고 생각합니다. 이러한 점에서 여기 계신 위니마스 역시 유쾌하고 기발한 상상력으로 풍부한 아이디어를 제공해 주십니다. 과연 그런 유수한 풍부한 아이디어는 어디로 올까 저는 생각을 했습니다. 위니마스가 사는 로토르담은 우리랑 같은 항구 도시입니다. 이런 항구가 줄 수 있는 자연적인 요소, 다양한 체감을 할 수 있는 것들이 사람한테는 창의적인 요소로 된다고 생각했습니다. 그렇기 때문에 이런 창의적인 요소, 개방적인 이미지가 위니마스랑 부산은 아주 잘 맞는다고 생각했습니다. 그래서 지금의 이런 미팅은 우리 부산과 유니마스의 최고의 조합이라고 저는 생각합니다. 여기서 제가 질문을 하나 드리고 싶습니다. 유니마스가 부산을 방문했을 때 부산의 느낌이나 분위기는 어땠는지 저는 알고 싶고요. 또 두 번째로는 도시적인 부산의 자산이 유니마스가 봤을 때 과연 어떤 것이 부산의 가장 큰 장점이고 이런 것을 갖고 세계적인 무대로 나갔을 때 그런 키를 열 수 있는 요소가 될 수 있는 것들이 있는지 그에 대해서 조금 의견을 듣고 싶습니다.
I have been now this 3 times in Busan, or 4 times. I have, and I only was always at one spot, and every spot was different. So that's one quality that I saw. I was on a beach and I could swim. I was on a rock and I could. I was on a mountain. I was in a village and I was between ugly skyscrapers. So there was you have a city is a collection. That's one thing which I like also, which is a potential to work on it. The collection has the potential that you can add and that you don't have to do the same. That is in cities which are very congruent, like Berlin or like Amsterdam or like Paris, it's hard to make difference because it's you have to follow the rules of UNESCO, is what it says. So that there is a certain liberty here that you can see in your urbanism. It is this biggest juxtaposition in the world that I can see is and that's also Rotterdam. So that is it's that way we are indeed comparable. Do you have a chance? Say the potential. You paint one. The second city is always you want to be big. I mean, it's like the others are big, so you are small. So that is good. That's a source of competition, which I hope that you enlarge that you use that as a motor. In the case of Rotterdam, that was indeed super, and somehow I like that also. When I meet not only you, but also your mayor, your politicians, your people in the government, they feel that they want to do something. So there is something what we call in the air to do it, and that makes me that I want to experience. And of course, one motive for me also to be here is not working only on that potential. I hate that I lost the competition for the film festival house in those days in 2003. I somehow think I want to do a revenge, but then in a nice way.
네, 말씀 잘 들었습니다. 그리고 역동성에 대한 어떤 그런 그 부산과 로테르담의 공통점 이런 부분과 마찬가지로 조금 더 이제 로테르담의 환경 이런 부분에서 조금 더 궁금하신 점이 있으실 것 같아서 유가건축의 유대호 대표님 조금만 더 거기에 관련된 말씀 좀 부탁드리겠습니다.
네, 유니마스가 계신 곳이 그 노트르담입니다. 네, 노트르담 여기 보시다시피 제2의 도시라고 하시는데요. 아까 그 사진에서 여기 여기 보시면은 그 좀 저희 쪽에서 조금 상징적인 의미가 또 있으시더라고요. 일단은 제2의 도시인데 많은 건축가분들이 거기서 작업을 많이 한다고 저는 전해 들었습니다. 좋은 건축가들이 많은 도시, 과연 이런 도시는 어떤 도시여야 할까 좀 고민을 해봤습니다. MVRDB의 그런 팀들은 체험과 경험, 그런 건축이 저한테는 흥미로운 요소가 되었습니다. 과연 부산은 다채로운 그 자연에 노출되어 있는 도시입니다. 이러한 자연은 무수한 감동과 체험을 건축가들한테 하게 해줍니다. 그렇기 때문에 사람은 창의적으로 발전한다고 저는 생각합니다. 또 디자인을 하는 사람은 이런 창의적인 부분에 굉장히 민감해야 된다고 생각합니다. 이런 근간이 어디에서 오느냐 저는 생각했습니다. 과연 이런 디자인의 근간은 어디서 오느냐? 저는 자연에서 근간이 되지 않을까 그렇게 생각합니다. 이러한 논리로 저는 부산의 수많은 창의적인 건축가들이 건축을 하고 싶은 도시가 저는 부산이라고 생각을 합니다. 그렇기 때문에 저희 팀들은 우리 건축가들은 부산에 있기 때문에 이 모든 것이 좀 증명되었다고 생각합니다. 로트르담처럼 저는 그렇게 생각하고 있고요. 그리고 저는 이제 앞으로 건축하는 부분들이 체험할 수 있는 도시가 일상적으로 움직이는 도시가 되지 않을까 이런 것이 생생한 도시라고 저는 생각합니다. 여기서 이제 관련해서 제가 질의를 한다면은 저기 MVDRB 유니버스가 하시는 그런 경험의 도시, 체험하는 삶이 주는 영향성이 이 도시에 어떤 관계가 있는지 저는 그런 쪽에 조금 질문을 하고 싶습니다.
That's a big question, but if I stick to the city of Rotterdam, then there's one slogan already for 50 years, 70 years in Rotterdam that says the city is not finished, is never finished. I think that is in my head always when I walk there. So even the non-built gives me already an experience to dream about the future. In the meantime, Rotterdammers, they want these new buildings because if there's nothing under construction, they are bored and they ask the question in the press, when is the new building coming? When is the new building coming? This pure desire is the ultimate experience of trying to engage with the future and not to protect. There is this beautiful quote, with nostalgia you cannot make futures. That is, I think, to summarize, the core of the experience. Secondly, I think that experience is a word that's our tool as architects to communicate. Our buildings give an experience on something. And exactly that somethingness, that's what we need to visualize and to make. And to make it clear to people that don't know architecture very well. I think the experience carries the word message, carries the word meaning in that way. And it helps to be very direct. Rotterdam is very direct. And every building is an experience that says something about a moment in life, a moment in evolution, and about the role of that building at that very moment in time. That's why I love Rotterdam, because that means that in every building I see one idealism. I see zillions of idealisms of all my colleagues, my architects that are there and that have the opportunity to speak out. And that makes what I would say the best Rotterdam collection that we can do. It is as if we believe that through these experiences we can create that city and we give space to the variety. It is now you see it sometimes in a museum. Museums are about concepts and some museums are about Instagram. The art has become more Instagrammable. Pictures is what it is. I think Rotterdam was the first museum as a city, as an urbanism that used that in everything, in a way. Not only in one Bilbao building. No. Immediately also into a Moroccan neighborhood, into also the House of Poverties, or into almost everything becomes iconic due to that and becomes experiential. So it's a carrier of messages, a carrier of dreams, and a carrier of beliefs in what architecture can do through their experiences.
Thank you.
네, 말씀 잘 들었습니다. 그래서 방금 말씀 주신 것처럼 그 건축가라는 어떤 직업이 가질 수 있는 여러 가지 능력이 저희가 생각보다 많다는 걸 저는 이제 MBRDB의 일을 이제 작업을 통해서 느끼는 부분이 많고요. 그래서 방금 말씀 주신 대로, 그리고 아까 렉처를 하신 것을 보셨을 때도 아마 청중께서 느끼셨겠지만 정확한 건축적인 작업이라기보다는 오히려 이번에는 조금 더 도시의 큰 어떤 그림, 어떤 큰 비전을 제시하는 어떤 일을 건축가가 맡아서 하는 부분에 대해서 보여주신 부분이 대부분이었을 겁니다. 그래서 아마 좀 놀라운 점도 있었을 거고 의외인 점도 있었을 거라고 생각하는데요. 저는 그런 것들에 대해서 되게 중요하다고 보는 관점이 뭐냐면은 결국은 이런 일을 건축가가 하고 있다는 게 되게 중요한 부분인 것 같습니다. 왜냐하면 아까 말씀하신 것처럼 작은 프로젝트가 중요하다는 게 건축의 어떤 공간의 비전을 제시할 수 있는 사람이 장소의 비전을 제시할 수 있고, 장소의 비전을 제시할 수 있는 사람이 도시의 비전을 제시할 수 있다는 그런 어떤 인식이 박혀 있기 때문에 이런 큰 어떤 작업을 그 건축가가 당연히 맡아서 진행을 하고 있다는 것을 저희가 되게 고무적으로 보고 있는 부분이 있고요. 그래서 어떤 그 건축가가 가지고 있는 역할에 대해서 저희는 조금 더 이제 심층적으로 저희는 이제 라라호 건축사무소의 조호재 대표님께 조금 더 이제 심화적인 말씀을 묻고 싶습니다.
예, 안녕하십니까. 라라호 건축사무소 조호재 건축사라고 합니다. 먼저 시작하기에 앞서서 그 MVDV사에서 또 부산에 이렇게 자주 와주시고 또 많은 건축가 분들이 계신데 특별히 또 부산에 대한 관심을 좀 많이 가져주시는 부분에 대해서 동시대에 또 부산에서 건축을 하고 있는 한 사람의 일원으로서 대단히 감사하게 생각을 하고 있습니다. 사실 오늘 그 프레젠테이션을 지켜보는 과정에서 사실 처음에는 이렇게 뭔가 이제 오늘 진행하는 과정에 대한 생각만 좀 하다가 위니가 이제 말씀하시는 내용들, 뭐 이미지 내용들을 이제 보면서 조금 제 개인적으로는 좀 충격적이었습니다. 그 이유가 마치 저한테는 그 위니라는 건축가가 마치 그 스티브 잡슨 같은 역할을 하고 계신 것 같은 그 생각이 많이 들었어요. 다시 말씀드리면 단순히 하나의 어떤 건축물을 짓는 어떤 건축가의 역할을 넘어서서 뭔가 도시에 대한 또 더 이상의 국가에 대한 문제점을 파악을 하고 거기에 대해서 새로운 청사진을 제시하고 더 나아가서 좀 사회적인 시스템까지 건드리는 그런 안목에 대해서 어떻게 건축가가 그런 부분까지 다 이렇게 속속들이 좀 생각하고 더 나아갈 수 있을지에 대한 부분들이 이분은 이 건축가 이전에 뭔가 이렇게 개발자, 뭔가 시대를 앞서 나가는 그런 분이 아닐까라는 생각도 해보게 되었습니다. 그런 관점에서 사실 제가 이거 좀 개인적인 이야기인데요. 그 MVDV가 처음에 작품을 제가 사실은 18년 전에 그 로테르담에 있는 오주크 하우스를 사실 방문하게 되었습니다. 그때가 제가 20살 초반이었는데 그때 당시에 제가 받았던 느낌은 어떻게 저런 건축물이 내 눈앞에 있지라는 생각을 하게 되었어요. 사실 오주크 하우스 아마 찾아보시면 다 아실 텐데 그때 당시에 이렇게 캔틸리버가 이렇게 거의 한 8m, 7m 정도가 이렇게 앞으로 이제 뻗어 있는 그런 모습의 공동주택입니다. 아마 MVIDV의 초기작으로 제가 알고 있는데요. 제가 기억이 맞다면 그때 당시에 이렇게 대지의 어떤 협소한 부분들을 해결하기 위해서 그 캔틸리버 형식으로 공간을 마련을 하고 그래서 거의 100세대 가까이의 노인을 위한 주거를 채워 넣었다라고 제가 설명을 들었습니다. 그래서 이건 여담인데 그때 당시에 노인을 위한 주택이다 보니까 할머니 할아버지들이 되게 많이 계셨어요. 그래서 저희 한국에 있는 관광객들이 이렇게 쭉 가다 보니까 그분들이 이렇게 하이라고 인사도 하고 했던 기억도 있고 어떤 한 분은 저희들이 너무 시끄럽게 하니까 시끄러워서 못 살겠다 이렇게 너무 유명한 건축가가 지은 어떤 건축물이 되다 보니까 못 살겠다라고 하셨던 분도 있었던 것 같아요. 그래서 저는 사실은 여기서 그 위니한테 좀 질문하고 싶은 게 저도 지금 건축을 하고 있는 입장에서 뭔가 이렇게 아이디어적인 부분들을 실현하기까지가 쉽지가 않은 것 같아요. 왜냐하면은 여러 가지 문제들, 특히 뭐 도시적인 어떤 법규에 대한 부분, 그 다음에 뭐 재정적인 그 경제적인 부분들이 항상 이게 어떤 카테고리 안에서 제약적인 요소로 이렇게 받아들여지곤 하는데 위니는 이렇게 저희보다 더 이렇게 아이디어적인 실험적인 작품들을 많이 하고 있는 입장에서 이게 단순히 아시아의 어떤 나라랑 유럽에 있는 나라의 차이점인지 그게 어떻게 그런 부분들이 이렇게 다 왔을 때 그것들을 조금 넘어서 그 위니가 생각했던 그런 프로젝트들을 끝까지 완수하고 있는지에 대한 어떤 의문점이 1차적으로 좀 있습니다.
One, be empathetic, be nice, be kind, and listen, and try to understand. That's one, to all the process. Secondly, be critical to that listener and try to say why. make it argumentative. That is, I mean, yes, many clients will accept that, because also the way already that you want to be empathetic or want to listen in that way. Then the third element is that everybody wants to look to the future. Everybody wants to be curious. I said that also. Everybody wants to do something about the planet. And so there's, in everybody's heart, there is this moment that you want to speak out. Even a person that says to me, I want a building that is silent, I will exaggerate that. So I will make for him or her the most silent building in the world, if that could then be done. So that is, exaggeration is another tool it's what in literature you call that the word hyperbole, and which is a tool to see the uniqueness of any position, but enlarge it a little bit. Of course, we try to avoid the risk of flatness, of one slogan only, in a way. You want to go back. Processes help to make the buildings better, to make the one-liner deeper. And now we make buildings that have a very, like a signal, but living in a signal, you get depth, you get reaction, you get self-criticism also in the project to get it in. I'm not afraid of these moments of discussion in the, I think you can see that sometimes in the building. You allow, even if it's a concept, of the nuances. And in our depot building, the neighbor complained because the mirroring was affecting his the patients who were psychologically traumatized and needed no sparkling. So I said, yes, you have a point. So the first thing you do, you cover the mirror with a cloud of non-protective material in one corner. But what I then do, I do it precisely, so that you know that it's part of the dialogue that is there. Visualizing the dialogue, I think, helps also to acknowledge something, but also to explain to the outsiders why things are happening. So I do hope that this kind of transparent technique is also allowing for the nuances, for the contradictions that we have in our side. And it's our art to orchestrate this combination of your idealism as well as, say, the criticism that will attack you. If you can combine them, your building becomes more beautiful. It's like a scar on your face, or it's like that our bodies are different from each other. That's how, that are techniques, I think, to keep your idealism while allowing for other things, without leading it to a gray compromise. And what I've learned, I think, that in any process, in any moment discussing with clients, then I can point, if it becomes a gray building, then they say, you're right. That's not, most of the people don't want that. They also see, and you can show them around, 99% of the buildings in the Netherlands are insanely ugly. So you can say that, and they know that, and they want, otherwise they will not choose you. So there is an interesting point, how to give that space without being, I mean, I hate buildings that, I mean, you come fly in and then you drop your concept that you made also somewhere else. That's terrible. I think anyway you have to find a dialogue with him, her, the environment, with that city. So to make it, I believe in diversity. I love, and that is also a tool. Because if you work on more places, then you're more independent. Then you can make more different elements. I try also to make not buildings that are all the same. And that gives me space also for that. So this is the kind of observations on what you say, how to keep idealism in the project.
네, 말씀 감사드립니다. 지금 건축가가 가져야 될 태도나 역할에 대한 부분에 대해서 말씀을 너무 잘 들었고, 조금 이제 주제를 옮겨서 저희가 부산이라는 어떤 저희의 환경에 대해서 조금 더 이제 대화를 나눠보려고 합니다. 그래서 우선 부산이 가지고 있는 환경이나 어떤 자산, 부산의 자산에 대해서 우선 저희가 부산이 가지고 있는 경사 지형, 그리고 워터프론트, 그리고 항만에 대한 어떤 부분에 대해서 말씀을 짧게 나눠보려고 하고요. 부산 특유의 어떤 경사 지형에 대한 그런 의견이 있으신 부분, 조재 대표님 한번 말씀 부탁드리겠습니다.
예. 이제 앞서서 미니께서 말씀하신처럼 이제 건축가의 어떤 아이디어가 이제 도시를 바꾸고 그 사회의 어떤 전반적인 문제점에 대해서 이야기를 할 수 있다는 점이 이 직업에 있어서 앞으로 저희가 좀 지향해야 될 점이 아닌가 이렇게 생각이 됩니다. 그런 관점에서 조금 더 이제 구체적으로 부산에 대해서 한번 이야기를 나눠보고 싶습니다. 사실 부산이란 도시가 지금 이제 시간이 많이 없다 보니까 짧게 말씀드리는 관점에서는 바다와 경사 지형을 가진 그런 독특한 지형입니다. 사실은 그 위니가 분석을 하셨던 이제 마르세유 같은 경우에도 바다랑 그 산이 있는 지형입니다. 근데 두 도시를 이제 비교를 하게 된다면 이미지를 그냥 넘겨주시면 이해가 될 것 같아요. 두 도시 다 바다도 끼고 있고 또 항구 도시의 기둥도 하고 또 산의 어떤 지형도 갖고 있는 것 같아요. 근데 제가 보는 관점에서 두 도시의 차이점은 질서와 무질서가 있고 없고의 차이인 것 같아요. 그 마르세유 같은 경우에는 산에 있는 지형임에도 불구하고 건축가라든지 도시계획가의 어떤 기본적인 마스터 플랜 안에서 건축물이 이루어지다 보니 그 모습이 단조로울 수는 있지만 조화로운 어떤 상황을 연출할 수 있을 것 같고, 우리 부산의 모습을 같은 경우에는 잘 알다시피 이제 전쟁하는 과정에서 임의적으로 막 주거가 이루어지는 과정이 생겼고, 그 이후에 산업화되고 또 개발되는 과정에서 또 임의적으로 막 짓고 부수고 하는 그런 역할, 그런 모습들이 이루어진 것 같습니다. 그래서 위니한테 여쭤보고 싶은 부분은 정말 부산이란 도시가 정말 위니가 생각하는 만치의 잠재성이 있는 도시인 것 같아요. 근데 그러려면은 건축가의 어떤 기발한 창의적인 어떤 아이디어들이 듬뿍 담겨서 이 도시가 앞으로 미래지향적으로 좀 더 변화할 수 있는 그런 절차나 역할, 건축가의 역할이 담겨야 된다고 생각을 합니다. 그래서 지금 그 화면에 보시면 단지 하나의 어떤 우리가 공동주거가 놓여진다고 봤을 때도 이 경사지에서 놓여지는 어떤 공동주거의 어떤 역할에 대해서 또 과연 그런 모습들이 과연 위니는 어떤 방식으로 접근을 하면 조금 더 한국적이지만 또 미래지향적으로 또 어떤 부산의 어떤 시스템들을 또 좀 앞서 나갈 수 있는 그런 가능성을 가질 수 있을까? 제 개인적으로는 물론 저런 땅은 도로에 대한 한계도 엄청 많고 그다음에 수직 동선에 대한 한계도 엄청 많을 것 같아요. 그런 부분들이 위니는 어떻게 생각하는지가 좀 궁금합니다.
Thank you very much for your question. First, I think that Marseille is much more chaotic than Busan. So I understand that you say that it's chaotic, but from highlight to highlight. And you said there's a good highlights are the quality of nature and the environment, which is fair. In between, it is sometimes not very well treated. I mean, your public spaces, your roads, your crossings are very functional, but not beautifully treated. So there is that's one way of living with this current situation. I would say make these public spaces much better. You specifically look to this question, which I love. Is one of the most beautiful elements of Busan, is exactly these pictures. And I love to work on it. I think, what does it lack? Maybe is simply certain quality of the houses, quality of places to go to, restaurants or shops, hard to find in these places. Viewpoints, over viewpoints, or mini pocket parks in it. All those can help that this element becomes, say, that they improve in quality, in investment, in the sociology, I hope also a little bit, and in safety of this area. So yes, this is a step by step. If we can make 1,000 beautiful houses in these hills, done by 1,000 different architects, then you have, I think, a desire to go there and to go and to improve it in a certain way. So you give a very beautiful picture of the city. Can you go that far? This is an hypothesis that on every empty spot of the city you do this in the future. That would be a choice. That would be courageous. That would be as if you have enough of certain kind of skyscrapers and certain kind of towers, and the rest you give to this informal urbanism. That would be courageous, because then you would do a choice. So we could then chaos would be even more chaotic, as you already say, because it becomes even more informal. But that makes it also, I could make it as exciting in itself. But that's what I could react to your question on both levels. So one, it's less chaotic than you suggest here, and secondly, on this case, I love them as one of the. It is a new experience for me to see the beauty of these villages, basically that you have, and yes, they need more attention and care and defense and investments. So that is what I can add.
제가 한 가지 위니마스께 제안을 드리고자 합니다. 저는 이제 태어나서 계속 부산에서 살아왔고 지금까지 이제 거주하고 있는 부산의 지역 주민으로서 부산에 대해서 좀 전달을 드리고 싶고요. 그러면서 작은 아이디어 하나를 제안 드리고자 합니다. 제 아이디어에 대해서 한번 의견을 주실 수 있을지 제가 한번 여쭤보고 싶습니다. 수락을 해주시겠습니까?
Yes, of course.
네, 진행하겠습니다. 저는 두 개의 질문을 가지고 오늘 이 자리에 왔습니다. 첫째는 현재 여기 있으면 현재 부산은 어디에 있는가? 둘째는 미래의 부산은 어디에 있는가? 두 가지 질문에 대해서 준비를 좀 했습니다. 현재 부산의 면적은 약 771제곱킬로미터입니다. 이 부산의 아이덴티티라고 할 수 있는 해안선은 현재 408.8km입니다. 과거 2014년도에는 부산의 해안선이 379.8로 현재보다 29km가 작았었습니다. 그 이유는 자연 해안선은 4.4km가 줄어들었고 인공 해안선은 33.4km가 증가했습니다. 저희 나라는 간척, 매립을 통해서 개발 사업이 활발하고 자연 해안선이 매년 감소합니다. 하지만 부산은 복잡한 자연 해안선을 아직 보존하고 있는 도시고요. 바다와 만나는 이 경계가 부산의 정체성이라고 저는 생각합니다. 저는 현재 부산이 바다와 만나는 방식을 총 3가지의 관점으로 바라봤습니다. 첫째, 레드입니다. 접근하기 어려운 바다입니다. 조선소, 공장, 고급 주거단지가 대표적 예고요. 두 번째, 옐로우입니다. 선택적 접근이 가능한 바다입니다. 비용을 지불하면 접근할 수 있는 카페 같은 경우겠죠. 그리고 세 번째는 그린입니다. 누구에게나 열려있는 친수 공간입니다. 해수욕장, 수변공원, 대표적인 거겠죠. 저는 서측에서 동측으로 해안선을 따라 여행을 하면서 부산의 모습을 직접 사진에 담아봤습니다. 보시는 거는 부산의 서측 다대포 해수욕장에서 뒤를 돌아보면 오래된 조선소의 기름 냄새를 맡을 수 있습니다. 접근을 할 수 없는 산업시설이 바다와 만나고 아파트와 산이 중첩되어 있습니다. 동측으로 가면 그 송도해수욕장이 나타나기 전까지는 감천항이 바다를 점유하고 있고요. 송도해수욕장은 케이블카, 주상 복합아파트, 그리고 생활형 숙박시설이 보이는 현재 풍경이 보입니다. 남항대교를 건너서 북한 재개발 3단계 영역 봉래 나루로에는 그 부산의 대표적인 지역 커피숍이 있습니다. 그 기존 공업사의 건물을 리노베이션해서 현재 많은 사람들이 공간을 방문하며 즐기고 있습니다. 그 여기는 그 영도의 핫플레이스인 흰 여울 문화마을입니다. 그 부산의 경사형 저층 주거의 현 주소를 단편적으로 보여주는 장면이 아닐까 싶습니다. 부산항 대교를 건너가던 중에 기발한 캠핑장을 발견했습니다. 그 영도 마린 오토 캠핑장은 바다와의 접점에 새로운 가능성을 보여주는 신선한 아이디어라고 생각합니다. 광안리를 지나서 해운대로 들어서면 바다를 마당으로 소유하는 고급 주거단지가 우리를 맞이합니다. 송정 해수욕장의 넓은 오픈 스페이스는 젊은이들의 멤버십 트레이닝 배경이 됩니다. 일광 해수욕장이 나타나기 전까지 고급 리조트들과 카페들의 향연이 펼쳐지고 그 일광의 이천항 방파제 등대에서는 일광 신도시와 원도심의 모습이 중첩됩니다. 부산의 동측 끝까지 많은 해안가들의 풍경들이 민간 자본에 의해 급속도로 사유화되고 있습니다. 부산의 총 409km의 해안선을 세 가지 범주로 나누어 보았습니다. 생각보다 너무나도 짧은 친수 공간이 부산의 현 주소입니다. 쾌적한 친수 공간의 비율은 전체의 10%가 채 되지 않습니다. 현재 부산은 점 단위, 지역 단위의 밀도 높은 개발을 진행하고 있습니다. 부산의 전체 해안선을 끊기지 않고 걸어서 산책할 수 있는 유연한 선형의 마스터 플랜은 어떨지 아이디어를 제안합니다. 의견을 듣고 싶습니다.
No, beautiful idea. Let's make it. It's very simple like that. Somehow I think, like in Shanghai, they try to do it with Pudong River, and which leads to hilarious ways of like to go around a private building with a path, etc. So it could that could happen in this case also. That's very true. So your claim. It's also a bit paradoxical that you have it, because you have a law in your country that coast cannot be, should always be accessible somehow. So that probably that you have to explain that to me. I have a counter question. Why? I mean, port is privatized. I agree that it helps already to open it up, but why don't you do that more strict? This coding of that the sea should be accessible because of maintenance, because of tsunamis, because of safety. Can you explain that? Why the 90% is not accessible?
그 기준이 되게 좀 모호하긴 한데요. 저도 이제 이 부분에 대해서 디테일하게 좀 연구도 해보고 싶고 한데, 사유화라고 일컫는 지금 데이터의 이제 붉은 부분들은 실제로 사람이 아예 진입할 수 없는 부분과 진입하더라도 단순히 방파제나 트라포트밖에 없는 드라이한 영역을 데이터로 다 산입을 시켰기 때문에 지금의 데이터가 나왔고요. 그 부분들을 좀 더 디테일하게 데이터화해서 세분화시켜서 좀 조사는 해보고 싶습니다.
It will be good that you show that in all honesty. I mean, to make it deeper. I think there's also a will and a desire, especially at the city government, to improve it and to work on it. So, and I know projects that are coming that are dealing with that, but it can be better, and that's to propose that on any situation that could be a beautiful work from you or with students, or to make that photographs even better and to make it more deep, as you say. That would be very good. And it's true. This proves that your dream of that you are so different from Seoul because you have the sea. It is indeed quite limited. Yeah, it's more psychological than true. Yeah, that is so good to address that. And you could, by the way, you can add also now your mountains in the next research. How accessible is that? And third, when can I go biking here? So also that is a point which, if you wish to make a town which is about fun, leisure, then that misses also in your observation.
예, 말씀 감사드립니다. 혹시 마지막으로 정말 짧게 그 탄소 중립 관련해서 한번 말씀 주시겠습니까?
저는 이제 뭐 탄소 중립에 대한 주제도 고민을 해봤었는데요. 이제 기후 변화에 따라서 이제 예측 못하는 상황들이 일어나고 있고, 금방 설명드린 이런 해안선에도 되게 많은 변화가 앞으로 일어나고 있는 상황이 전 세계적으로 비슷한 이슈라고 생각을 합니다. 이제 좀 제가 위니마스의 상상력을 좀 들어보고 싶었던 것은 이제 아까 말한 30년 뒤가 지났을 때 지금의 기후 변화들이 일시적인 게 아니라 지속적으로 발생했을 때 30년 뒤에 우리가 살고 있는 주거의 한 장면, 살고 있는 하루를 이제 상상을 해봤을 때 과연 어떤 상황까지 발생할 수 있을지 한번 여쭤보고 싶었습니다.
What is your imagination? How we live 30 years later without solving this issue?
This is our last question.
It's a big question, and it's certain countries are more urgent than others in this matter. I think the Netherlands is, by living under the sea, is almost condemned to work on it. It's an interesting example also how to deal with climate change and to pay for that. So in 2070, that is 45 years from now, the decision has to be taken to make a dike in the Netherlands. So we have this 45 years to save the money for that and to do it. Or we have to go to Germany, okay? So that is and the awareness of that becomes now more political. So too late, but again, scientists have now shown that. So I think in that way it helps a little bit. This science helps us to create more understanding. There's of course a big discussion on what is the truth. There are skepticists and in certain countries, especially in East Europe, and there are necessities like the ones in the Netherlands. So the Netherlands is, after Norway, I think the quickest in electric cars. It's the quickest in windmills because of that vulnerability. So sometimes, that is that's the sad truth to have that done. So 30 years is just enough, as I said, to be on time. In the case of the Netherlands, in the case of the Maledives, it's earlier. It will be gone in, say, 15 years, 20 years from now. So there are, and how can the places that have not that urgency help? That will be at a certain moment also important to consider. I give one example that I didn't show today of a very small country, Luxembourg, in Europe. It is the richest place on earth, and it is becoming painfully aware that it is as unecological as one can be. There's the highest amount of CO2 production almost in the world per inhabitant. So what they do is to make a tax system, an eco-tax system that allows to repair that. And for the things that they cannot solve, they collaborate with the regions around it. So they invest now in Belgium, France, and in Germany to do that. That I find a very interesting example that sometimes we have to stretch to our neighbors. In your case, it's a bit more difficult, but it's like you have to do it more on yourself. But it's yeah, these are ways of seeing that this. So in 30 years, yes, Luxembourg has a good plan for that will be there. That example, the Netherlands will start on its dike in 30 years. That's what we can imagine. So these examples, we have to communicate with each other. I hope that in 30 years, our cars, as you are somehow working on, are hydrogen oriented and not electric anymore, nor battery oriented. So that is, yeah, you already are dealing with it somehow. Some of your industry, which I use as an example sometimes of dealing with that. The question of you is a little bit that we have to, as architects, we have to paint the world. If we don't do it, how would it look like? Where are the disasters? In reality, they are not in 30 years maybe, but in like 70 or 80 years from now. So we bring the future already more closer to us. That's what we have to do. And so your question of 30 years is actually a question of 70 years in reality. But it would be good to emphasize that. But otherwise, the changes are slow, and that's what you also question. And that is we have to act, and we have to repeat that endlessly to anybody, to avoid this, to deal with the skepticism that surrounds us, and to deal with potential research on this, as well as research on innovations, on making other kind of material, not this stuff anymore, and to make other kind of mobility, other kind of cities. That's what we can offer in that transformation.
네, 말씀 너무 잘 들었습니다. 일단 저희가 시간 관계상 저희가 준비한 내용은 여기까지 이 정도에서 좀 마무리 지으려고 하고요. 사실 저희가 준비한 내용이 더 많았는데 시간 관계상 저희가 좀 어쩔 수 없어서 다음에 좀 더 좋은 기회가 있다면 또 새로운 좋은 기회가 만들어졌으면 좋겠습니다. 우선 그 위니마스와 젊은 건축가의 대담을 들으시고 청중 쪽에서 이제 발제 내용이나 대담 내용 중에 어좀 궁금하신 내용이 있으시다면 혹시나 질의응답을 하고 싶은 분 계실까요? 한번 손을 들고 편안하게 말씀 주시면 감사드리겠습니다.
Some last question from the audience. It is a little bit late.
오늘 시간이 많이 지체된 거를 아시는 것 같습니다. 오늘 너무 오늘 늦은 시간까지 너무 시간 내주셔서 너무 감사드리고요. 오늘 행사는 이것으로 마치도록 하겠습니다. 오늘 너무 수고 많으셨습니다.